Welcome chess friends, today we are going to see a fantastic game from the recent FIDE World Cup between the best player on the planet, Magnus Carlsen, and the legendary Vassily Ivanchuk. Carlsen opens the game with 1d4, one of the main opening moves and a signal that he wants to play a more strategic game. Ivanchuk responds with 1d5, a symmetrical move with which black wants to play a slower strategic game as well. With 2 knight f3, Carlsen wants to see what black will play, and then he may come back to the main lines with c4 in one of the next moves. Ivanchuk plays 2 e6, which is the main road to the queen's gambit declined.
3 c4 by Carlsen, back to mainline theory. Black's 2 e6, though, was an invitation to play the London system, had white played 3 bishop f4, which Carlsen has used as a weapon with the white pieces a lot of times in his career. Three, knight f6, developing the king's knight, and black is one step closer to castling. 4, g3 by Carlsen, who deviates from the queen's gambit declined proper and steers the game into a Catalan, with the characteristic deployment of the bishop to g2, exerting influence on the long diagonal h1a8. 4. Knight c3 would have been a transposition to the normal queen's gambit declined lines. Four. Bishop b4 check by Ivanchuk, a move characteristic of the Bogo Indian lines, with the intention to ruin white's normal development. 5. Bishop d2 is the concession from white's part that black wanted to achieve. The white bishop on d2 is not ideally developed. Five. Bishop e7 is a theoretical retreat, having caused the aforementioned damage to white's development of the queen's bishop on d2. Here black has some other theoretical possibilities, among which are a5 and c5, supporting the bishop and causing positional imbalances. Six. Bishop g2. Here is the characteristic development of the king's bishop on g2, which at the same time is a powerful piece on the long diagonal and a good defender of the king on the light squares. c6, reinforcing black's bastion on d5, with the characteristic pawn triangle e6, c6 and d5. Seven. Queen c2, the white queen in the Catalan is well placed on the c2 square, making room for the rook to come on d1 and keeping an eye on c4. Knight bd7, developing the queen's knight. Bishop f4, active deployment of the bishop on the h2b8 diagonal. Black castles, enhancing king's safety. h4, an aggressive pawn move that is an indicator of a kingside attack in the future. dc4, black wants to gradually free his position. The queen recaptures on c4. Black places the knight on d5 to later hit the precarious queen on c4. Bishop g5, an attempt to exchange bishops. h6. White happily exchanges bishops. e4, gaining space. Knight from d5 to b6, hitting the white queen. Carlsen plays queen to c3, keeping an eye on the e5 and d4 squares. Ivanchuk plays the liberating central thrust e5 and Carlsen castles short to king safety. E takes d4. Queen takes d4. A recapture with the knight was equally possible, unmasking directly the powerful g2 bishop. Knight moves to c5. Rook to c1, threatening to capture the knight. Knight a6. Ivanchuk moves the knight on the edge of the board. However, grabbing the pawn on e4 would have been a stronger positional decision, since black's queen will be in no real danger through a potential pin of the knight, as this variation shows. Knight from b to d2, developing. Bishop g4, an active deployment of the bishop. Bishop f1. Carlsen understands that his light square bishop can have greener pastures on other diagonals. Black's bishop on g4 is not a threatening piece. Rook from a to d8, threatening white's queen. The queen is safe on e3. Knight c7, trying to reroute the knight to more central squares. a4 is a classical attempt to hit the knight on b6 with the lateral a pawn and gain significant space on the queen side. Knight c8. Ivanchuk does not wait his knight to be hit by the white a pawn. Carlsen nevertheless continues with a5, grabbing crucial space on the queen side. Bishop f3, a fatal positional mistake. There was no need to exchange unprovoked the bishop for the knight, since this bishop would be a valuable defender of the light squares in the future. Knight takes f3. a6 stops a6 by white. Rook a4. The rook lift through the a file seems logical, bringing the rook into action. Rook from f to e8. e5. Carlsen understands that his well-defended pawn on e5 is a thorn in black's position. Knight d5, hitting the queen on e3. Queen b3, exerting influence on the queen side. Knight a7. Ivanchuk tries to put up resistance on the queen side. Bishop d3. Carlsen methodically redeploys his light square bishop to the b1 h7 diagonal, enhancing white's threats on the king side. Knight b5. Ivanchuk brings back the knight to an active square on the queen side. Bishop b1. The bishop remains on the long diagonal. h5, trying to stop h5 by white. Rook e1. The rook adds extra protection to the pawn on e5. Knight d to c7, trying to reroute the knight to the king side. Queen c2, creating a lethal battery. g6, trying to block the light squares and defend effectively the king side, but such pawn moves create weaknesses in one's own camp as well. Bishop a2. Moving like a demon. King g7, moving the king to a safer square. Knight g5. Carlsen moves the knight to the attack, exploiting the weak squares in black's camp. Even stronger here was g4, bringing the rook straight forward to the attack. If black captures hg4, rook captures g4, and white's initiative on the king side is tremendous. Rook f8, defending the king. e6 is a powerful pawn thrust, causing panic to black's camp. Nevertheless, even more powerful, according to Stockfish, was the centralization of the queen to e4 first. Ivanchuk moves the pawn to f6, trying to block the position. A better try for black was knight to d4, when, incredible as it may seem, white's best option would be to give the exchange, with huge compensation, as his advanced pawn would move to f7 with paralyzing power. Software's accuracy is unbelievable. Bishop b1, the white bishop is moving like a demon and renews the kingside threats, creating again a strong battery with the queen, hitting g6 and threatening to completely destroy black's kingside. f5, establishing a light square defensive wall. Queen c1, the queen is active. Rook d5, the rook is exposed on d5. A better try would be knight d4, centralizing the knight and not exposing the rook. Bishop a2, hitting the rook on d5. Rook c5, the rook can be hit through b4 later. Queen e3. It may seem incredible, but according to Stockfish the best move here was rook c4, simplifying the position in order to stay on top with the plus of the advanced passed pawn. Knight d5, hitting the queen. Queen d2, rook f6. e4, hitting the rook. Rook c3, only move. After the exchanges, white is a healthy pawn up. f4, last efforts by black. G takes f4. Rook f5. Queen e4, black's position is hopeless, and here Ivanchuk resigned. Thanks for joining our channel and watching. See you soon.